What a matchup this was. Two teams heavily predicted to be into the playoff scenario and then some. And here come the Clemson Tigers down the hill, 80,000 strong. Brian Kelly and his Tigers waiting to take the field. Scott, this was a defensive game throughout, and early on, watch P.J. Woodland look at the speed up the middle as he gets to Klubnik for the sack.
If you're an LSU Tiger fan, you got to be excited about what you saw, both in the secondary, but up front. The front seven of this LSU Tiger defense is much improved over last year.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the pressure and the changes on the defensive end in just a moment. Garrett Nussmeier in at quarterback for LSU. The quick pass to the outside bar. Sharp gets it, but here comes the Clemson defense. They force the fumble. Ball's out. Ricardo Jones is going the other way. 24 yards on the return. The LSU defense would hold, so it sets up a 42-yard field goal by Nolan Hauser. Clemson has the early lead, 3-0 on LSU. Then Nussmeier, with LSU trying to drive inside the 35-yard line, takes a 12-yard sack, hurts the Tigers' field position, but it does set up this from 52. Damian Ramos, and it is easily through the uprights, and this game is tied at 3. It's 10-3 Clemson when Caden Durham powers his way into the end zone for LSU's first touchdown of the season. Caps a 9-play, 63-yard drive, and we're tied at 10. In the fourth, the Tigers use their size to the advantage. 6'7" Trey'Dez Green, just throw it up top to the big man. 11 plays, 73 yards, and LSU takes a 17-10 lead. Clemson has to get to the end zone. LSU has to make a play. Remember Brian Kelly last year, his frustration? Somebody has to step up. Well, they don't on this one. Clemson keeps the drive alive under a minute and a half to go. They've got to get to the end zone. But on 4th and 4, remember 1 week ago, Scott, what did Brian Kelly say? You don't come back for another year if you don't expect to make an impact, and guess who does it? Number 7, Harold Perkins with the pressure. Klubnik has no shot at this.
He's a special player, and this is the type of impact he's going to have for this LSU defense. They missed him sorely last year.
Brian Kelly celebrating with the pressure as LSU gets the win, 17-10 on the road against Clemson. LSU's look at time of possession, over 37 minutes. Clemson did not get a lot done at home. The defense holding Clemson to 31 rushing yards total. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Next up for LSU, it is the home opener in Death Valley, Baton Rouge, next Saturday night when Louisiana Tech comes to town, another in-state matchup that will kick off at 6:30. But before we look forward, let's look back. Comments from head coach Brian Kelly, Dabo Swinney on the big showdown in Clemson.
Look, this is a hard place to play. I mean, it's a top 5 team on the road, and our guys were down at half, and they don't lose when they're up at half. And our guys persevered, great character. Look, I could talk about a million things, but it's individuals, and these players refused to do anything else but find a way to win, and I'm so proud of them.
It was a heavyweight fight. I mean, listen, that was just simple as that. Just a heavyweight, fight as far as a football game, and just a couple plays. They made a couple more plays than we did, and we made a couple more critical errors than they did, and in games like that, that's usually the difference. But plenty of opportunities, and we missed our opportunities. I thought we got away from the run too early. We didn't run the ball effectively at all. You got to give LSU credit because they made a couple of those critical plays, and again, that's the difference in a game like this in the fourth quarter. So, congratulations to them.
Scott, it seemed like a big theme around the country in week 1. Defense is ahead of the offenses there. We certainly saw it last night between these two teams.
There's no question. I think in a lot of the big-time matchups, LSU, Clemson, look at Texas, Ohio State, a lot of the premier matchups in college football, the defenses were way ahead of the offense. I think part of that is there's a lot of transfer portal. It takes time for offensive players to catch up with their timing and their rhythm compared to defensive players. But I think this LSU defense, you have to be encouraged by what you saw. Obviously, when number 7's back on the field, it changes a lot. It tilts the field a little bit for you. But I kind of disagree with that. He said it was a heavyweight fight. Yes, but it almost felt at time heavyweight versus middleweight because I think LSU has by far the better players offensively and defensively compared to Clemson. If this team played 5 times, I think LSU would just get better every single time they played.
All right, since you talked about the defense, let's talk about what they did, and specifically in the second half. You heard Dabo Swinney say we had trouble. He said we got away from the run too soon. Well, you might have gotten away from the run because you couldn't do anything on the ground. I mean, what LSU's defense was doing, especially in the second half against Clemson, you have to recognize the talent, to Scott's point, about what they were able to do. Scott, in the second half, Clemson ran for less than 30 yards. They ran, or less than 30 yards in the game. less than 12 yards in the second half. Are you ready for this? 0 rushing yards in the fourth quarter. They played 15 minutes. They didn't have a run.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think if you're a head coach, you're Dabo, every coach goes into a game and wants to run the football because it says you're controlling the line of scrimmage. You're able to move another man against his will. Well, you weren't able to do that against LSU. LSU, 32 total yards rushing in a game and winning the time of possession 37 minutes of 23, you're going to win a lot of football games. It's amazing this game was as close as it was with those type of stats. I think the LSU run defense being much improved gives us a team a chance to talk about the SEC championship and college football playoff, especially when you look at what Alabama looked like yesterday and Texas looked like yesterday. This LSU defense is going to give people problems.
And look at the number of white jerseys. This is the play on 4th and 4 at the end of the game. I want you to watch the replay. Look at the real estate that Harold Perkins covers from the left side of the screen to the right. And then look at how many white jerseys are on the back right of your corner. Here he comes, Scott, across the middle. Who's he throwing to? There's 7 white jerseys there and 1 orange jersey.
Yeah, there's no doubt that LSU has the better quarterback in his quarterback matchup. Clay Clemson did not look very good, but Nussmeier also didn't have guys like Harold Perkins rushing his face. That guy's a special player. You pair him up with Whit Weeks, much like this week, the talk of the NFL is Micah Parsons going to pair up with Rashawn Gary and the Green Bay Packers with those 2 edge rushers. I feel like LSU has that with Weeks at linebacker and Harold Perkins. These guys cover a lot of real estate in a hurry.
Yeah, when you heard Dabo Swinney saying they got away from the run, you saw the pressure that they were putting on Klubnik, but then again, when you try to run, there was nowhere to go. I take you back to the preview show we did 1 week ago when we heard from Brian Kelly. What did he say? I think my defensive coordinator is really, really good. We had to give him more tools in the toolbox, right? Then they went out and got the #1 recruiting class in the portal, and a lot of those guys were on the defensive side. But, boy, Clemson had a couple of big splash plays here and there, but they were so few and far between. Yeah. It was a grind for them for what that LSU defense, to your point, much different-looking defense than what we saw a year ago.
Yeah, I think you saw the talent of LSU, like I said, comparing heavyweight to middleweight. And it's not taking a shot at Clemson. I think Clemson's a really good football team. I don't think they have the type of players that LSU does. What I think happened in this game was LSU went into a hostile environment, a hard place to play in college football, and you have to give this LSU team a lot of credit. Going on the road against a good opponent, haven't won in a number of years, 5 years like we said,
Yep.
Being down at halftime and not letting that affect you, overcoming that adversity early on in a season can really propel you throughout the year.
Before we go to some final stats here, let me ask you something about that point, because I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on these matchups? Now, I love that it's the home and home. Remember, for years, Alabama was always going to Atlanta for a big game. LSU went to Vegas, went to New Orleans, went to Orlando. I love the home and home with the big matchups early. Clemson's going to get theirs. They're coming to Baton Rouge, right? They'll be back to Baton Rouge next year, so you'll see that home and home. But for the fans and the NIL and the ticket prices now these days and trying to get everything you can, I love that you're going to campuses for big-time matchups. Texas went to Ohio State. They'll be okay. They lost. LSU went to Clemson. Clemson will probably be okay in the ACC. Want to get your thoughts on what you think about these early season matchups in a true road game.
Yeah, I understand why college football and even the NFL, they want to do some of these neutral site games and show off these new stadiums in Vegas and other places. But there is nothing like going and seeing the opponent's place. That you'd have no other reason to go to Clemson to see a football game if you're an LSU fan. Now I give you every reason to go there, just like Clemson. They would much rather play a neutral site game next year, go to Atlanta and play LSU. But deep down, they're excited they get to come to Baton Rouge and see Death Valley. Yeah,
well, you heard Brian Kelly say he's proud of his team being on the road, hostile environment, get the win. Here are the final numbers to show you just what LSU was able to do in this matchup here with Clemson. 354 total yards, again, for Clemson. 31 rushing yards, not in a quarter, not in a half. That's for the game. And they had 0 in the fourth quarter. For me, that's all I need to know, Scott. When I see that, and then you go bottom left, 37 minutes, it tells you Clemson had trouble controlling the ball. LSU did not.
Yeah, and then couple other things we need to talk about. LSU's defense, 3 of 13. Clemson was 3 of 13 on third down. You're not going to win many football games. You can't stay on the field. You're getting into long down yardage situations. And we can talk all day long about how good the LSU defense was. We also have to talk about Caden Durham. Caden Durham at running back for LSU, I think he's going to be one of the best running backs in the SEC. He's a special player. Him with Nussmeier gives them a chance and that defense to win a lot of games.